Hey, this is Jon Gordon with Positive University, and today my guest is Buzz Williams. Buzz, how you doing?
Doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing great. We've been friends for a long time. You're the head coach of Texas A&M basketball, and I know that you've had a long journey to get there. So, Buzz, I want you to tell us where it all started. Give us a backdrop, and a background of your story.
Sure. I'll try to just highlight some of the bigger parts of it. I'm from a small town. There's not a red light in the town that I'm from. My parents were divorced at a young age. And when I graduated from eighth grade, I knew that if I was going to go to college, I was going to have to pay for it. And so from that point, I did anything that I could do, mow yards, roof houses, haul hay, anything, literally anything. And I saved as much money as I could. And I went to a junior college, Navarro College, which is in Corsicana, Texas. And I paid for my tuition in cash. And the registrar not the registrar, the business office was curious why I paid in cash. That led to me working at the business office as a student worker. She eventually introduced me to Coach Orr, the head coach at Navarro. And so I was a manager at a junior college for 2 years and then a manager at an NAIA school in Oklahoma City University for 2 years. During those 4 years, anytime I met a coach, I didn't understand the difference between Division I or Division III or video coordinator or associate head coach. Anytime I met someone that had a business card, I began to write them once a week, just on a sheet of notebook paper. This was before social media, before the internet. And then I worked camps every week of the summer, every summer of my college career for the same purpose, just to meet coaches, just to try to learn how to coach, if that would be the right way to say it. And during my senior year of college, I was writing 425 coaches each week. Again, not all head coaches, not all Division I coaches. I just knew that I wanted to coach. I did not understand all that I understand now, if that's the appropriate way to say it. In the spring of my senior year, I went to the financial aid office and asked for a student loan. I got a $1,200 emergency student loan, and I bought a round trip plane ticket to Charlotte, North Carolina, and I bought a suit, a shirt, and a tie. And I had never been on a plane before. It took all $1,200 to get to Charlotte. I took a cab to downtown Charlotte. I had never been in a cab. And for the 72 hours I was in Charlotte, I just stood in the lobby of the Adams Mark Hotel in Charlotte and passed out resumes, which were on different colored construction paper. And basically the resume said I knew how to wash clothes, I knew how to sweep the floor. And through that Final Four, that was the Final Four of 1994, I got hired as an assistant coach at the University of Texas at Arlington. Back then, it wasn't really an assistant coach. It was what they called the restricted earnings job. And that job paid $100 a week. So that my first year as a coach, I was 21 years old. I made $4,800. And then I ended up working at UTA for 4 years and then have been multiple places since. I just finished our first year at A&M. That was my 13th year as a head coach. And I was an assistant coach for 13 years as well. So half of my career, I've been an assistant coach now, and half of my career, I've been a head coach. John, maybe similar to parts of your life story, none of it did I understand what it was. And looking back, I think my paradigm was so small, and God only gave me enough that I could handle, because I wasn't thinking, well, one day I'm going to be the coach here or one day I'm going to be the coach there. It was just enough for me to have an idea what I should do next. And because I didn't know all that it was, and things have changed and the exposure has changed, I think I knew just enough of how to take the next right step. And I've been blessed way more than I deserve and way more than my talent suggests. But through it, I've learned there were a lot of people that helped me that didn't have to help me and did things for me to try to teach and to try to share their wisdom. And that is as big a part of anything in regards to my ability to progress throughout the business.
What made you write all these letters to all these coaches? Where did you get that idea?
Yeah, I'm anxiously built, and I for whatever reason, maybe growing up in a small town, maybe doing all of those things that I did during my high school career to try to make money, I had kind of figured out just enough to understand that relationships were of the utmost importance. And I have always, because of how I was raised, you should view everyone as a teacher. You should view the janitor at the school as a teacher. You should view the cafeteria worker as a teacher. And so anytime I meet anyone, and this has been throughout my life, I know they have something that they can teach me. And so as I was meeting those coaches, whether they were coming to Navarro to recruit the players, or I would take the Greyhound bus from place to place to work camps, and camp would be Monday through Friday. And so I would call the coach at the next camp and say, Coach, is there any way I could come early and help you set up camp on Saturday and Sunday that started on Monday? I was only doing that so I could spend time with those coaches, but I was also doing that because I didn't have anywhere I could go. And so I was just kind of on a trail for 12 consecutive weeks each summer. And I thought it was the only way I could build consistency in having a relationship. And it was the typical 18-year-old, 20-year-old handwritten note. Hi, Coach Gordon. How you doing? We're playing next week. I hope you're doing great. I'll write again next week. But I mean, it was 3 fragmented sentences is all it was.
How'd you pay for all the stamps?
Yeah, that's kind of the biggest part of the lesson of the story. So the financial aid office that I went to as a senior to ask for the loan, what ended up happening, John, was I was broke. I didn't have any money. I had ran out of all the money that I had saved. I could afford notebook paper at Walmart. I could afford the business envelopes. It wasn't on fancy stationery. There was no graphics or letterhead. It was just on notebook paper. So I started developing relationships with all of the secretaries in all of the buildings. Go to the music school, go to the law school, go to the School of Education, go to the financial aid office, go to the registrar's office, go to all of the offices, and I would meet those secretaries. And I would say in different ways, can I mow your yard? Can I take your dog for a walk? Can I babysit your kids? Would you like free tickets to our game? Like there was 50 people at our game. It wasn't like there was a pass list. But how could I develop a relationship with those people in the front of the offices? Because that's where the mailman came on campus to pick up the mail from that office. So that was the first part. And then the second part was there was a mail service in the morning and there was a mail service in the afternoon. And so I started finding out what the route was and who those people were. And I would do the exact same thing with them. If you're mailing 400 letters a week, I needed multiple people to help me. And so as time went, I would begin to explain to those people, the mailman or the secretaries, hey, is there any way you can mail these 15 letters for me? And, if you're doing that every week, they're like, Buzz, what are you doing? And then I began to explain my story. Well, this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. And it was a good opportunity for me to learn how to build relationships. It was a good opportunity for me to have reps at trying to get people on my team. And that's kind of how it all started. And so everybody on campus, the cafeteria ladies, everybody knew who I was. And I tried to empower them in whatever way that I could, and also help them because of what they were doing to help me.
You're an incredible relationship builder. You've won everywhere you've been. You've taken your teams to the Sweet 16. It's incredible that you always turn around a program wherever you go. Why is it? What are some of your keys to leadership that allow you to have this kind of success? I know you're very humble, but you have to have some recipe of what you do because it keeps on happening.
Thanks. As anybody would say with those words, very thankful for the people that have been on our staff and very thankful for the players that we've coached. What I try to do every day, John, no matter who it is, the managers, the graduate assistants, the trainers, the best players, the guys that never play, I try to remind them of who they're becoming. And I think in a world that goes as fast as ours, I think investment equals expectation. And so I'm constantly trying to find ways with each of those individuals to invest in their lives. And I think, like anybody else, when you remind them of who they're becoming and you're investing in them, that changes the expectation, not only for what you expect of them, but more importantly, what they expect of themselves. And I think we've done a really good job, no matter where we've been, at maybe taking guys that nobody thought had a chance to be maybe as successful. And there was an invisible chip, and we utilized that. That's similar to who I am, I think. But I also think we've done a great job investing in the lives of those people, not necessarily in their game. We do that. A lot of people do that better, but we try to invest in their life, because I think the only way you can maybe overachieve, if that's the appropriate word, is when they know that you truly love them. And everybody uses the word love, but true love doesn't have an agenda. And I think if you're only spending time on their game, that's important. But I don't know that that's true love, because at some point they may think that you're only doing this so it helps us. And so I don't spend as much time coaching basketball as I do trying to invest in each facet of their life and trying to help them grow. And I think maybe that's counterintuitive, but I think that's been a big part of our success and maybe why we've done more than what the pundits would have thought.
Yeah, I always use you as an example of love tough, because you love your players so much. You then earn the right to challenge them and push them to be great. So you see their greatness. But I know that you do a lot of life skills as part of your loving and investing. Can you talk about what that life skills consist of? Because I think it's legendary what you do. And I know you have these classes with your players and you just talk to them. I watch the videos you send.
Thanks.
They're incredible. So what do you do?
Yeah, it's different every year. It's almost like a class. And when we were at Marquette, we called it Life Lessons. When we were at Virginia Tech, we called it Tech Talks, as in Virginia Tech. And here, because it was so fast moving when we got the job, we just called it Get Better 101. And it's probably every 10 days during the off season. And there's not necessarily a syllabi or anything like that. It's just time to invest in their life. And we do a lot of different things. How to tie a tie, how to change a tire. We do simple things, but we also spend time trying to teach them things maybe that they haven't had a lot of reps of, whether that's with how to speak, whether that's appropriate body language, how to introduce yourself, what are taxes, how to write a check, how to balance a checkbook, maybe all of the things that they know bits and pieces of, and we just try to kind of unpack it in each session so that when they walk away, they go, I wasn't exactly sure how to do that. We have a lot of traditions. The word culture, I think you may be the best in the world at culture and how to explain it. In our program, John, culture is just habits. And if it is a repeated habit in words we use and our terminology, we call it a tradition. And so we have a lot of traditions, and those traditions include what you're asking about, but we have other traditions regardless of whether it's in season or whether it's out of season. And I think you get what you repeat. And it's important in those habits that you repeat that the people that are involved in those habits know that it is an investment in their life. And coaches have different ways to coach, different ways to play offense, different ways to play defense. But I think for me, because I don't want my identity to be that of a coach. It's what I do. I want to do it as well as I can. But more importantly, I don't want to be known for what I do. I want to be known for what I give. And I think the overreaching theme in our traditions is how do we give? How do we share? And so those Get Better sessions will start again once what we're going through kind of calms down, and it'll be the sophomore version because we just finished our first year, and this past year we did the freshman version. So we'll do kind of an advanced, the next level of that, and we'll kind of continue to find ways to teach them different things.
What's it like when you hear from one of your former players years later come back and say the investment you made had an impact in their life beyond the basketball court?
It's the best. And I'm kind of reaching that point, John, relative to my age, where some of the guys we coached, their careers are beginning to end. And so they're beginning their next phase of their life. And so I'm kind of on that threshold where over the next couple of years, the kids we coached at Marquette, their careers will be beginning to get to a close. Whereas some of the kids that we just finished coaching at Virginia Tech, they're beginning their professional careers. So it's been awesome. And I think that it's further evidence for me as a coach of why we do things the way that we do. And it reinforces through my relationship with those guys, we call them the old guys, with those old guys, and I didn't do this very good with them. And I need to make sure I'm doing that with this new group. Or that we did do a lot of really good things, and I need to make sure we keep that in the mix. We keep that in the flow of what we're doing. And so they're able to give me wisdom. And, I think we spend so much time searching for information. And over the last couple of years, because of what you're asking about, I've kind of tried to calm down my search for information and tried to increase my search for wisdom. Because when I'm talking to those old guys, the guy that was coaching them 10 years ago, that's not who I am now. And as I see their translation of what we did, and I filter it through the 47-year-old version of myself, it helps me with the wisdom of how to coach the group that I'm in charge of now. And so that's been really healthy in those relationships to be able to use their wisdom to translate it to help these guys that we're coaching currently.
Buzz, how have you changed as a coach over the years?
I don't make long-term decisions based on short-term circumstances. I was so hell-bent, John, in the wrong way to prove that I belonged. And I wanted to prove, the day after I was hired at Marquette, Milwaukee Journal Sentinel in the largest font possible said, "Who the hell is Buzz?" Question mark. And we had some success there, in my opinion, and did some really good things.
Yes, you
and
did.
Then I went to Virginia Tech, and the ridicule for taking that job really scarred my heart. Like, why are you leaving there and going there? And that's career suicide. And I was still a little caught up egotistically. I didn't show it, but internally, I was still caught up in why am I being ridiculed for taking a job in the ACC? And, I made a canvas of all of the tweets and all of the excerpts of articles, and it's actually here in my office. And I did the same when we left Virginia Tech and came to Texas A&M. And what I've tried to do, John, and this is vulnerable, I suppose, I've tried to move all of my validation meters to the inside. And I've tried to stay away from what Twitter says, what the local beat writer says, what the national college basketball expert says. And I've just stayed away from it. As you know, because of our relationship, I say no to all of this. I don't do podcasts. I don't do coaching clinics. I don't do webinars or whatever this is called, because I think I have to be careful that I'm not doing things for the wrong reasons. I think I have to be careful about why am I paying attention to the opinion of others? And so I'm not saying that's right, and I'm not saying that's wrong. I just want to make sure that the intent of my heart is for others. And I want to be careful that I don't allow this opportunity and how I've been blessed. I don't want to act as though I'm bigger than the gift, because the gift is from God. And I just want to be the appropriate steward of that gift. It's his mantle, and it has nothing to do with I'm holier than thou or I'm self-righteous. It just means that I think that I've been able to progress. And because I've been able to progress, I want to make sure that I handle that progression and help others the right way. And so I would say that's how I've changed the most. I don't spend as much time drawing up an out of bounds play. I know enough out of bounds plays to survive. And I take that time that I was trying to show everybody that I could coach, because my meters were figuratively on the outside. And I've taken that time and tried to invest it in the relationship with our kids and also with our staff.
Well, I'm honored you're doing this podcast with me. That means a lot that you would do it. I know you don't
Only
do a lot
because you're my guy.
I know you don't do a lot of these. I really appreciate it. And I also know that as someone who had to prove myself what that's like, right? I had a dad that left when I was a year old. And I heard a joke the other day. They said, why do you call your biological father your biological father? Well, I would call him dad if he was actually a good dad. I call him biological father because he wasn't, right? So you have that desire to prove yourself, and it pushes you and it makes you thrive at some point. But if it's your only driving force and it's the ultimate driving force, eventually it will be from a wound that will sabotage you. That's and cause you to then seek the approval of others rather than doing what you're called to do and living in your purpose. So what you're saying is you've transitioned from someone who's trying to seek validation to someone who is now living their validation and making an impact and transforming lives and focusing on it, which you've always done. You've always been into that, but I get the drive part. It makes a lot of sense. But you're at Texas A&M now. I mean, that was your dream job, am I right? I mean,
you know what my dream job was? And this is to go back to our first question. My paradigm was so small at Navarro when I was working for Coach. I was trying to figure out, I wonder if I could skip being a high school coach and wonder if I could be a junior college coach. Coach Orr is 84 years old. He retired at Navarro the day I was hired as the head coach at Marquette, and he's been with us the last 12 years. So I never, I didn't have the vision, if that's the right word, to go, you know what, if I could somehow get to this job, it's never entered my mind that way. Being the head coach at Marquette's a top 20 job in the country. It's basketball only, unbelievable support, unbelievable tradition, have won national championships, been to the Final Four, unbelievable resources, to then go to Virginia Tech and coach in the ACC with all of the players and coaches that have been a part of that. And then to be able to be back for the first time in a long time and employed in the state that I grew up in. All of them have been bigger than any dream that I've ever had. And it's not because of the name of the school per se or the conference. It's because I never thought that any of that was even possible. And I think to an extent, because my paradigm was so small, each step of the way, it got just big enough for me to understand a little bit more. And so I've never had like, this is my dream, and if I could get there, I made it, because internally, John, that's not how I'm wired. I'm wired to see if tomorrow I can do just a little bit more and be a little more efficient and a little more effective than I was yesterday. And I think the chase or the journey or the process, all of those catchphrases that we all use, that's always kind of been my mantra, as not where I'm going to end, but wonder how I could be a little bit better today than yesterday. And so I'm thankful to be at Texas A&M, but in being respectful, I was just as thankful to be at Virginia Tech and just as thankful to be at Marquette. And even the places that I've been able to be as an assistant, those were like, I was trying to get a job as I advanced. I wonder if I can be employed at a school that doesn't have a direction in the name of the institution, or if it doesn't have a direction, it doesn't have a hyphen or a direction. And like the first job I got that was Colorado State. And I was like, I remember telling my wife, can you believe that I have a job and we're going to work at a place where there's not a direction and there's not a hyphen? Like when I call a kid and I go, I'm the assistant coach at Colorado State, there's at least a chance that they've heard of the school. Like I was like, man, I made it.
That's so good. That's so good. So you're at the pinnacle of your career in many ways and things are going great. But what do you tell those coaches and leaders that are young that come up to you and say, Buzz, I want to be like you, but maybe they're not willing to do what you did, because your story is so epic about what you did early on, all the letters, all the relationships that actually paid dividends later on. A lot of people aren't willing to make that investment. So what do you tell these young coaches and young leaders that come to you and say, I want to be like you, Buzz?
I can answer that fairly succinctly because I spend a lot of time working on it. I have written back in my career, John, every single person that has ever written me. If they email me, I don't respond because, and I mean this without sounding egotistically, I don't check my email. If you send me a typed letter, I don't respond. But if you write me a note, I'm going to write you back. The fans that complain, I write them back. The people that call and say thank you, I write them back. Every handwritten note throughout my entire career. Two things to answer your question. Number one, the blessings you see many times are from the sacrifices that are unseen. And incredibly blessed, but the sacrifices, and I just tried to touch on parts of my story because sometimes I don't want to come across arrogant as I explain other pieces to it of how it all transpired. Here's what I write everyone. Number one, read way more than you think you should. Number two, write down everything about everything all the time. Number three, build trustful relationships for 10 years from now, but learn to connect the dots between now and then. And number four, never turn down an opportunity to work or to learn. Number one, read way more than you should. I don't read as much as you, but I read a book a week. and it is planned out, and I'm very consistent in that. And I think that's the best and most efficient way to accumulate wisdom. Number two, I take notes, voracious notes, every day of my life since I was 18 years old. I have every practice plan, every scouting report, and I take notes that have nothing to do with my prayer journal or my diary, just notes on what I'm learning. Number three, most people want to skip steps, and to build a trustful relationship, that's what I have with you. I'm never going to ask Jon Gordon for anything. I'm not going to ask him to sign a book. I'm not going to ask him to send me books so I can give to our team. I'm going to go on Amazon.com and I'm going to buy 100 of Jon Gordon's books because my relationship is with him, and I don't want to infringe on that relationship, because if I ask him for something, to some degree, at some point, he may think I only want a relationship with him for what he can do for me. Very few people want to build a trustful relationship just for the relationship. But you can build a trustful relationship, and through that, learn to connect the dots over the next 10 years. I look back, the reason I got the job at Texas A&M as the head coach was directly due to what transpired when I was an assistant 13 years before. Yes, it helps that I had done the things that we had done as a head coach, but it had to do with the relationships that I built with people here when I wasn't trying to be the head coach. And I see so many people, and I'm not saying it's wrong, it's just a lack of understanding. They're wanting to skip 19 steps. Buzz, I want to do what you're doing. And I'm like, yeah, I understand, but what is the foundation from which you're going to do that from? And then the fourth thing, never turn down an opportunity to work and never turn down an opportunity to learn. A lot of people say they want to work, but what their definition of work is, I'm not sure is the appropriate one. And then I think you have to have a thirst and a drive to learn. You have to learn at a rate that's greater to or equal to the rate of change. And our world is changing so much. And that's why you hear a lot of leaders say, well, this generation, yeah, that's the wrong way, because you're proving that your rate of learning is not ahead of the generation you're leading. And I think you have to have a hunger and a desire to learn.
Such wisdom, Buzz. I love it. Buzz, I have this picture here that you sent me.
You're my boy. I have my notes from that day. That was the best day of the times that you and I have been together. You turned it into a book. I don't know that when you were teaching it to me at that time, you were thinking it was going to be a book. Maybe you were. I didn't ask that question, but I still have my notes.
Was it the 5Ds? The 5Ds?
Yes, sir. And that's June. That was June of 5 years ago. And I still have my notes from that. We were sitting at the table at that hotel, and that was when you introduced me to the other coach who joined us later in our meeting. But before that coach showed up, you were dropping dimes of wisdom. Dimes.
I appreciate it. That means a lot. And you wrote this. I showed it to my wife. It said, "Nobody loves you like I do."
Exactly right.
My wife said, "What?"
Yeah.
So what do you mean when you say that? And I love it. But
yeah, this is again maybe part of what I've tried to improve at. The greatest gift that I can give someone is belief in them. And I think that what I want to try to do for our players, for our staff, what I want to try to do in the relationships that I build, John, I mean this in the right way, and this is not to answer your question. I'm going to answer it. Do you know that I've written you 92 consecutive months in a row?
I didn't know 92, but I get them every month, and I love getting them.
Yes, sir. And the reason I do that is I think it's important, no matter what genre of industry that you're in, you have to be able to master pettiness in order to achieve greatness. And for me, writing you every month, I write 120 people.
I was wondering how many. I was wondering how
Yes,
many.
sir. I write 120 people a month, and I write 60 thank you notes a month. That has nothing to do with recruiting. It doesn't count in that group if it's basketball related. And I'm saying this sincerely to you. I changed the 120 people 10% every month, and I add new people. I've kept you on there because of the impact you have had on me. And every month that I write you, it's a reminder of your willingness to share with me wisdom that has helped my career, which a byproduct of that is I hope that it has helped others that I've been associated with. And through all of this relationship building, what I've learned is similar to what we talked about earlier. Everyone, like Oprah says, everyone has a story. Your story of your biological dad, your story of how you went from a bartender to you've written 20 New York Times bestsellers to you tell people no because you can't fit it in your calendar to speak. But we all want others to believe in us. And there is the biggest sign in our practice facility is a picture of our team. And above it, it says, I believe in you. Because that's the greatest gift I can give them. And when I say, and I say it not just to you, I say it to others, nobody is cheering for you more than I am. Nobody loves you as much as I love you. It's my way of just being a dealer in hope, as Napoleon said. I just want to be a dealer in hope. I just want to give a gift of belief. And I think we all need that, whether we're 47 or 20. And so I have a magnet wall, that picture you're showing, that picture of you and I actually have the picture. What does it say on the back? I put the date on there.
ACC meetings, 5/15/17.
Yes, sir. So it was 3 years ago.
Yep.
When we were in Jacksonville. But I have a different picture of you and I when you met with some of our staff in Michigan, when you and I spoke at the leadership conference with Brad Black. And you spent time with our associate AD, who is now an AD, and you spent time with one of our marketing people who is now a deputy AD. And that's the picture I have on my magnet wall in front of the restaurant that we ate at, because it reminds me of your willingness to share with them, even when you didn't even know who they were.
That means a lot, Buzz. Thanks so much. I want to really appreciate that. You are amazing, and I do love your friendship. And when you write those things, it does make you feel good. So I know that's
right.
How you make other people feel. I know that's how you make your players feel. So
absolutely,
I want to learn, what do you tell your players when they come to your program? What do you tell them when they join you?
I honestly think, John, we probably go about recruiting different than most. And I'm not saying that that's the right approach. There's certain times of the year where you can go watch kids play and go to AAU tournaments and go watch them in high school games. And I know that's important. What's most important for me is when the NCAA calendar allows me to visit with them face to face. And as soon as the calendar allows for me to meet with their mom or their dad or their grandmother or whoever their guardian is, that's the most important part for me. Knowing their game is important. Knowing what our roster needs is important. But knowing who they are and what's important to them and what their dreams are and what their hopes are, that's what I need to know. And as soon as I can get in front of their grandmother or their mom, I want to try to coach them in front of their parents so that I can see out of the corner of my eye how their parents are responding to my coaching of their child. And that's always an indicator for me if they're going to have success in our program. We say no to a lot more talented guys than guys say yes to us. I think one of our best attributes as a program, no matter where we have been, is the development, the total development of those kids. And in order to develop them, they have to be with you. And one of the issues in our industry is kids leave, and kids leave often. And so we want to have the lowest transfer rate, no matter what conference we're in, because we believe over time, how we go about it on a daily basis, that development at times will overcome the talent of the opponent. And that doesn't mean that other coaches are not developing. It's just kind of how we operate. And so as soon as I can get in front of their parents, whoever that is, and coach them, their parents' response to that coaching is always a great indicator of for me, if this is going to work. Watching them play, I get bored with that really quick. But spending time with them, that's what I want to do the most.
What do you tell them your expectations are of them?
What I talk to them about is I have the energy to hold you accountable to what you're saying you want to become. And the path to what you want to become is not near as easy as you think that it is. And we have evidence that our way works. It's not the only way, but let me explain to you our ways. And that expectation or that standard of accountability is going to be every day. And I think most kids, as they should, they think that's on the floor, but they don't realize that it's off the floor that I hold them to that standard, probably more so than on the floor. I give more grace on the floor than probably what the public thinks that I do. Off the floor, being on time, sitting in the first 3 rows of class, doing the hours required of study hall and tutoring, the amount of time we spend in the film room. We want to be teachers. As much as we're coaches, I think we want to be teachers. We want to be teachers of life. And through being teachers of life, I believe your life mirrors your game. And if your life is trending in a positive direction, so is your game. I don't believe it's the other way around. And so relative to my time and energy, I'm going to spend a lot more time on making sure their life is going in the right direction. And when it's not, I don't give them much grace. And that expectation or that standard of how we're going to go about our work is going to be with a high level of energy every day. And I'm going to constantly remind them, remember, this is what you said you wanted to become, and this is what's required on that path.
I think we know now why you win everywhere you go, because you focus on your players. You focus on developing them. And then over time, those players who have the right attitude, who fit your culture, and they have the right work ethic, those kind of players wind up winning for you when you show all that love and all that investment and you challenge them along the way. As we come to a close, Buzz, I know we're going through the coronavirus right now. Your season was likely cut short. I don't think we're coming back for it. We may, but if it is cut short, what do you tell your players now who are really frustrated they're not playing? What do you tell them about a lost season in some ways? What's your message to them, or what have you already told them?
Yeah, it's been so unique. We were scheduled to play on Thursday night at 6. We had won 5 out of our last 7 games. We won more games in the SEC than they've won here in several years. We were picked 12th. We finished in a tie for 6th. We were the worst Power 5 team when we came to Florida in November in the Thanksgiving tournament. We finished in last place. We were going in a really good direction. Would we have played 1 game or 2 games? Nobody knows. We were in a good groove. We had shoot around, John, at the hotel on Thursday at 10 o'clock in the morning. And I told them before shoot around, guys, I don't know if we're going to play. and you don't know if we're going to play, and none of us are going to make the decision if we're going to play. But what we can do over the next 45 minutes is do what we can control, and that's shoot around. Obviously, it was canceled later that day. We came home on Friday. Our spring break has been extended, and there's no way of knowing when any of us are going to go back to normalcy. We can't work out. They can't use our facilities. Classes are going to be online for now when they do open that back up next week. So I don't think there's an answer. I think this. I think there's 3 positions of leadership. I think you can lead from the front. I think you can lead from the side holding someone's hand. And I think you can lead from the back and push them forward. And I think in this unique situation that none of us have been through, discerning which position to be in is really important. And I think you're one of the world's best leaders. You're one of the world's best teachers of leadership. In this environment, we are all, to some degree, counting on the leadership of our country. And we're needing them to be in the front position on where to go. And I think when you filter it down to, Buzz, what are you going to do now relative to your organization? I think right now I just want to go side to side, and I want to hold their hand. And I think nobody knows the answer. And at 47 and married with a family of 4, I process information a little different than our 19-year-old kid who wants to be in the weight room and be on the court working. But it's an unbelievable opportunity in that side-by-side position that I think I should be in, of using this as an opportunity to teach them multiple things that are way more important than basketball. And I think if there's 3 positions of leadership, there's only 2 types of leaders, those that are self-serving and those that are serving others. And in this environment, it's paramount that I'm serving others. And so I've tried to each day be very consistent in my communication with our team and with our staff. When we got back on Friday, the last thing I told them before we prayed as a program was, hey, guys, I don't know what this is going to be, but I know what we're going to be during this time. We're going to be the best, most communicative program in the country. And that's what I've tried to hold firm to over these first 5 days of making sure that I'm doing a great job communicating, because I think that's part of the position of side-by-side leadership.
I love it. I don't know what this is going to be, but I know what we're going to be during this time.
That's right. And that's because that gives them belief, right? That gives them hope. Hey, I don't know what this is. What's coronavirus? Where am I going to go? Can I eat? Can I work out? When are we going to play? When is this going to end? Who's going to die? Where are they going to go? What if I have it? Do I know if I have it? When am I going to get tested? Where do I go to get tested? And you just, perseverate. And you just get deeper and deeper in that hole, and you don't know what the answers are. And so you look at your phone, and social media makes you even more anxious. And then you turn on the TV, and it makes you more emotional. And like I told my children on Sunday, and I told my wife, hey, guys, this is what we're going to do. We're going to develop a routine and a rhythm to our life and to what we can control. And we're going to have hours in the day where you can't use your phone and you can't turn on the TV, because we don't need people to give us their thoughts. We need to develop our own thoughts. And if all we're doing is looking at the timeline of other people's thoughts, then that doesn't give us space to create and think about what our own should be.
Buzz Williams, incredible wisdom. Thanks for your leadership. Thanks for sharing today. Man, this was amazing. I really appreciate it.
I don't know if it's any good or not, but this is the first time I've done it, and you look great. Look at all those bestsellers in the background. I've read all of those books.
I'm honored. My wife makes those paintings for me. And
it's a painting.
Yeah, there are paintings of each book that she has painted by a professional painter. And each book, when it's done, goes up there like that.
How about that?
Yeah, it's my favorite gift. I mean, I just love that she does that. And it's a nice testament to each book. Because, it's a lot to put into a book. And so you put your heart, your soul, your insights into it. So when it's done, you've created something, and then you have this painting that lives on with the
Man,
book.
that is really cool. I didn't know they were paintings. Thanks for
Yeah.
telling me that.
Yeah. You're the best, Buzz. I appreciate you, man.
Enjoyed it. Thank you so much.